Yo, yo, yo. Welcome, everybody, whoever is here. I know it's the middle of the day and it's not a normal time frame that we jump on to do Savage Patriots, but this is not a normal situation nor a normal show. Let me quickly get Facebook up and running here. Boom. All right. So, we have a couple of things to talk about. Um, some time ago, I had mentioned to you of a situation involving my 14-year-old, and the situation kind of got really out of hand um, really quickly. And not only did it get out of hand quickly, there were a lot of things that didn't make any sense to us, like absolutely no sense to us. But they could never give us an actual answer as to why things were the way they were. Um, Eventually, what happened was we had to submit a appeal. Um, is what they wanted us to submit an appeal, and the the crazier part um, is that they had this concept about, I guess, our family, that we would just sit down and take what they were doing. For those forget to so give you a nice big background of what it was. My son, my 14-year-old, um, he's quite apt at football. He's a really good football player. Um, Big kid, almost 6 foot. Um, oh, it's just me. This is about this. It is a call this one personal. Okay, this is personal. So he's a really good football player. He can play just about any position, but his strongest suits are in the defensive line, or just back at safety, or running back. But really, safety and running back are his two strongest suits. And he was playing for the town that we live in, which is Wenatchee. Now, Wenatchee has a odd makeup because we have a bridge that crosses over to another side that we call East Wenatchee. So there is Wenatchee proper and East Wenatchee. And there has always been a rival between the two schools, the East Wenatchee High and the Wenatchee High School, and majority of the time the junior high on both sides. So there was always called one thing called the Battle of the Bridges, where they came every year to fight, and all of a sudden, not fight physically, but in the football and those arenas. So Ethan came to um, prominence, I would say. He caught people's eye while he was playing for um, a regional group called the WIAA. And he played with this group during the summer and really thrived, really, really thrived. I mean, man, he was good. And the coach he had really took him under his wing. And JP is the coach's name. And they had a really good bond, kicked it off well. He realized Ethan's potential, was willing to pour anything into him to get the most out of him. We could depend on JP. No, it's going to stay on Rumble and YouTube, so you don't have to worry about the link. Both sides, it'll be on both platforms, so don't worry about that. So JP was always in his corner, and the results of the time that he spent with the WIAA really did a good, but it wasn't because of the WIAA as much as it was about JP. Anyway, this was when he was in 7th grade. I want to make sure you understand that he's in 7th grade. Now, if I'm not mistaken, 7th grade is not high school. Maybe I'm just a dummy here. I don't know, but I'm pretty sure that you don't classify as high school when you're in 7th grade. So he played for the WIAA in 7th grade going into 8th. Last I checked as well, 8th is also not high school. Unless I'm also mistaken. Maybe y'all can correct me. 7th isn't high school. 8th is also not high school. Okay. All right, perfect. Glad we got that out of the way, that I'm not the dummy here. Okay. So he was going to school in Wenatchee, and the school system in Wenatchee leaves a lot to be desired academically. And so the East Wenatchee schools academically is miles ahead. So we decided that we were going to choice him into East Wenatchee. And that means we drove him there. We'll do that, but we decided to choice him over. So we did that, choiced him over for this year, which is not seventh grade. Just want to make sure people understand that this is not seventh grade. Okay, he's in ninth now. We're going into ninth. Yeah, he'll be going into ninth. So here's my dilemma. He is playing during his seventh grade year, going into seventh grade. Then he was playing until then into eighth grade. He was not playing for WIAA. He did not play with the WIAA. I want to make sure I make this correct. There was no way he would be classified as high school in either one of the years he was playing. I have to keep saying that because when I'm going to read for you the rules that they applied to keep him from playing varsity, which is what he qualified for because he was that good, you will understand our disgruntlement. Because I want to lay that out first for you understanding the time frames we're talking about, that he was not in high school, nor was he entering high school having played for the WIAA. It was a full year that passed before he entered into what they considered, not the school district, they considered high school, the WIAA. The WIAA counted him as high school being in eighth grade. But that's not high school. You get our dilemma here? Okay. What the WIAA classifies as high school is not high school. And in either case, he played going into seventh grade, not going into eighth. I want to make that abundantly clear too. Once we have that out the way, I think we can better understand something. And I want us to have that understanding. Otherwise, we will have a very hard time with what we're about to go over. Okay. So what we're going to look at is the laws, okay, that they put under him. Let me make sure I find this first. I got in here late because I had to, teachers conference today. So I'm going to show you an individual here, so you know who we're dealing with. Okay. The head of the athletic department in East Wenatchee, the high school there, is a man by the name of Russ Waterman. This is Russ Waterman. Russ Waterman is an interesting individual, to say the least. Very interesting individual. And when I say interesting, I do not mean that in an admonishing, sweet, wonderful way. He's an interesting individual. Make sure you brand that face into your mind, because we will be talking about him quite a lot here in a bit. So here is the rules that they applied to Ethan, who was playing before he entered seventh grade and a little bit into it, but not going into his eighth grade year. If he had played the summer going into eighth, this may have applied to him, but he didn't play then. He played the year before. Here comes the rules. The rule is listed on their rules list as let me see here, I get the right subheading here. I want to make sure because I said I'm going to get everything out here that I can. Okay, good. Article 18.12.5 of their rules. Okay, this is what the rule reads like. And again, people know I'm not the smartest person out there, but I also don't believe that I'm the stupidest person out there, which is what the WIAA wants people to believe, that parents are the stupidest people out there and that we just don't know what exactly we're doing. We're just too stupid to understand. This must be what they believe because they took me for an idiot. They took me for an idiot. So here's what it reads. You decide for yourself if Ethan fits this criteria based on what they have said. Remember, I said he played going into 7th, not going into 8th. Summer before. Okay. 18.12.5. A high school student. I'm going to stop right there. And I want to, this may upset the light a little bit, but I want you to read it yourself, okay? All right, you see it there? A high school student who attends, participates, or was eligible to participate for a school and subsequently transfers to another school will be eligible for subvarsity only for 1 calendar year from the date of the enrollment of that new school. Clear enough, right? If the student transfers from a public, private, or charter school after participating on a non-school athletic team within a calendar year from the date of the enrollment at that school, in which one or more of the high school coaches are currently involved and or receiving personal, athletic, or activities, instructions, or training, including weight training and conditioning from a person affiliated with another school to which the student transfers. B, the subvarsity status would apply even if the entire family unit moves to a new location within the residential area of the school to which the student transfers. Now, JP, you remember I mentioned JP. JP was his coach during WIAA time in the summer to the fall of his 7th grade entering year. JP since then has taken a job with the East Wenatchee School District as a coach this year. He took the job this year. Okay. Ethan is in 8th grade now. Now, please tell me if what I read in any way, shape, form, or fashion, unless you're retarded, like all of the people on the WIAA seem to be, unless you are a retard, there is no way you can apply that rule to my son. You have to be a buffoon on the levels of Dr. Seuss's handwriting. Not his grammar, not his English, his handwriting. You have to be that type of stupid, 1 fish, 2 fish, red fish, blue fish, to think that that applies to Ethan. But this is the rule that they pulled out of their hairy behinds to apply to him. This is that rule. So now we get into the nitty of the gritty. JP had run-ins with Mr. Waterman before. When I told you that Russ Waterman was an interesting individual, he is one that I would brand indeed a retard. And I hope you see this video, Russ Waterman. You are indeed one of the slowest people I have ever had the displeasure of ever meeting. You speak, act, behave like a retard. And I will keep calling you that because that has to be what you are. I will never ascribe the behavior you have to somebody that has intelligence. That would be an insult to people's intelligence. You're a dummy. But I understand why you did it. I fully understand why you did what you did. You see, you had people in your ear that you want to appease. For whatever your purposes are, you were trying to appease them. So here's what happened. Word got around throughout all the district that my son was transferring to East Wenatchee. It was an academic transfer. There is a window open to my child to transfer for without any issue. He can transfer. There's a certain window of time. We can transfer him from one district to the other with no penalty. We used that penalty. We used it. We want to transfer our son because we want him to have the better academic approach. Word got around that Ethan was leaving. Now, he was one of the star players, one of three maybe in the Wenatchee School District. Now, losing Ethan on your team would mean that your Battle of the Bridges has just taken a turn for the worst for you. You're already losing. They've always lost to East Wenatchee. So some of the parents decided that they cannot afford to have that happen. I do have a problem with a lot of the parents, too, on the Wenatchee side. The unfortunate thing is that I don't have their name. And since they're not written down on paper to any degree, I'm not going to name them. But they would, over time, come to my son, my 14-year-old son. He's now 14, then not 14. "12 at the time. 12. Parents would go to him asking him why he's transferring, kicking up a fuss about him and trying to coerce him to change his mind, as if he's the one making up his mind about any of his future when we are his parents, to stay in the Wenatchee School District. We got wind that somebody went to speak to Mr. Waterman about him. Okay? So Mr. Waterman has now heard that my son is transferring. Someone is now afraid that their son or someone else might get cooked. For whatever their purposes, I don't really care. Mr. Waterman proceeds to get our transfer papers. The school district on the East Wenatchee side has already accepted Ethan into schooling. That's done. Now we have to make the assessment of going to the athletics side of things. Mr. Waterman said that he received paperwork on a Friday. I think it was a 26th of 2 months ago. He said he got the paperwork from the school district that day, made his decision that day, sent out an email that day to us informing us of his decision. Here's the problem. Remember I told you he was retarded? Here's why I think he's retarded. We never got said emails. Not one time did we ever get an email from this man. Not from him, not from his people, not from his secretary, not a single person. But my son sure did get an email. My son, a minor, got an email from them telling him that he was no longer eligible for varsity. So we say, we found this out on Sunday. The Friday is when he said he sent out these emails. We get word Monday or Sunday when we went to church, because one of the other coaches goes to, the service with us. And he said, hey, did you know that Ethan's no longer eligible for varsity? We're like, well, we never got any such notification, but we'll take care of it Monday. I'm sure it's just a glitch. No, wasn't no glitch. We never got notification. Then we checked to see what email he had on file for me. It was a wrong email. I decided to test this email and send it to myself to see what would happen. You know what happens when you send an email to the wrong email address or a non-existent email address? Tell me what happens. What happens when you send the wrong email address out? You get something coming back. Domain not found. If he had sent that email, trust and believe there would be something in the notifications that said, no, that didn't go through. Try again, you retard. It didn't work. Then he said he sent it to my wife. Not a single email, not in junk, not in sent. Nowhere can we find this so-called email that he said he sent. But we sure could find it in Ethan's. Again, a minor. So we call them. Say, what's the deal? So my wife goes in to try and find out what's going on. He tries to convince her to sign some paperwork. Now, this is how I know he's utter garbage. Tries to get her to sign paperwork that would absolve them of the problem. Unfortunately, she signed it. But then we learn of an appeals process. So I told her, you need to go get that paperwork back, call him and tell him that you're not willing to do this. So we're removing our consent for whatever it was she signed. And I told her, I will go see Mr. Waterman myself. I will go. So I went to see Mr. Waterman. And let's just say when I got there, I was not the pleasant, jovial person. I was not there for any pleasantries. I was not there to exchange phone numbers. I was not there to find out when we can go grab a beer. I was not there for that. I wanted to know how exactly it is that you made this decision about my child without alerting the parent, only alerting the son, who is not for himself. We take care of him. Okay, he's not autonomous. We are. So I sit there. I shake his hand. That's the most I would give him. And I said, so I have questions. When did you make this decision? Oh, I made it that Friday. So I said, when did you get the paperwork? He said, well, I have it here. So he starts fumbling around with papers. And he said, I think I have here. And then he goes to his computer. See, I think I have here where I sent the email out and blah, blah. I didn't see the screen, mind you. So I didn't know what the heck he was talking about, whether it was true or not. He wouldn't show me the screen. So he started fiddling on the screen. Oh, this is when I sent the email out and I got the paperwork that morning. He got the paperwork from the school that morning and made his mind up that day. It's going to get exponentially worse to show either bias and stupidity or just plain bias or just plain stupidity. Here he is writing down on the screen, oh, here where I've got this. And so he said, this is what I did. And this. So I said, you made a decision the same day you got the paperwork? Yeah. And I said, and why wouldn't you alert us or call until you got a hold of us? Why is it that you had to send an email out of this magnitude of importance when we only had a small window to appeal by the way. It was a very small window that we had to appeal. Very small, I think a week. So if we didn't get wind of this, there would have been no appeal process. So I talked to him about the rules. And he said, well, the intent of the rule is, like I told you, this man has to have some sort of special needs deficit. He has to. I cannot, in all honesty, call this man brain smart when he acts so stupid. There's no way, family, no way. No way. None. He says, well, the intent of the rule was, and I said, I don't care what your intent was. Maybe when y'all idiots sit down to write rules, you put that in there. But since you don't know grammar or you don't know English, obviously you wouldn't put it, or you're lying. Or you're lying. And you're applying a rule that does not apply to my son because of something you've made a deal with somebody about. Here's where it gets even worse. Now remember, it's an appeals process. We make an appeal, and here's the stupid thing about the appeals. We make an appeal to the local board of the WIAA. That's who we're making the appeal to. And if that doesn't go through, then we go to the captain of it, the whole head guy of the WIAA, for him and for others to make a decision. During my time sitting there with this buffoon, he tells me he called the head of the WIAA that Sunday. Remember, he made his decision Friday. He says he called them Sunday to go over with them whether his interpretation of the rules were accurate. Do not forget, there's an appeals process. The appeals process has just been tainted by him calling the head. This is how it goes. You deny something as the athletics director. When we appeal, the athletics director does not get any kind of say in the appeals process. He's the one that made the decision. So he's removed from both rounds of appeals. He's already gone to the head of the WIAA to confer with them about his choice. Heaven alone knows what he's talked to them about. So he's already tainted the pool by putting his 2 cents in by speaking to someone who we are supposed to later go and appeal to. First round of appeal, and I said this is what would happen. I told my wife and I told everybody else, all they're going to do is say, we stand by it. That's all we're going to do. We stand by it. Nothing else. We stand by it. That's exactly what happened. Come to find out that he was not even speaking to the local second, the first wave of people we go through. He didn't talk to them. He talked to the head guy, the top dog, who we will have to make the final appeal to. Enter the cronyism part of my title. So I said, you made the decision for my son and about my son without doing the one thing that you're supposed to do, which is talk to the parents of the person that you're making the decision about, because he's not old enough to make his own decisions about his future. That's my job. It's definitely not yours. You rotund, overweight piece of crap. It is not your position to do that. You don't get to do that. You don't get to override a parent. It's not your place. Well, the rules are the rules and I can't do nothing about it. And I said, well, good. I'm glad you have that position. Just understand this. There will be repercussions to this. Is that a threat? It's not a threat, fool. It's a promise. Those were my words to him. I told him that I would get all that I can out of this. And by the time I was done, he will have no job in this district. And it is still my intent to get that fool out. It is my intent. It will happen. It will happen. You didn't want us to do this the right way. You went over and above to try and keep my son from reaching his maximum potential because you and the rest of your fool friends didn't want to get your ass handed to you on the football field. How insecure of a man do you have to be to put in jeopardy the future of a 12-year-old? And you call yourself an athletic director. So I left his office, walked out. I said, don't worry, you'll be hearing from me. He got up from his desk, and I saw him do this, went to the office door, closed it, jumped on the phone. Jumped on the phone. So we had our first Zoom meeting. And as usual, it went the way you would think it went. So I'm going to play portions of it. They don't know I have it. They recorded me. They didn't wait for my consent to do so. They just recorded me. So here we go.
Can you hear us?
I can hear you, yes.
Okay, good afternoon, gentlemen.
Sorry for the delay. We've been running a little bit late on these.
Okay. That's okay.
Hang on, let me get.
So,
do you need?
I'm going to go ahead, and most of the stuff I have to read here is by script, so that everything stays uniform. And I will record, but we only record the voice.
What is that melody?
Only record the voice to send to WIAA. Okay, so at this time, I'm going to start the recording, and then I'll start reading my script.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Recording in progress.
Good evening. This hearing is for Ethan Akpodites. Welcome. We're at a Zoom meeting. It is 6:21 and 6:21 p.m. and today's date is September 3rd, 2024. My name is Jeff Jameson, and I am the chairperson for WIAA District 5's Eligibility Committee. At this time, I would like the members of the Eligibility Committee who are present today to introduce themselves along with their job title and school affiliation.
Evan Reister, Chelan High School Athletic Director.
Cody Miller, Royal High School Athletic Director.
And Bob Stanley Davis, High School Athletic Director.
At this time, I'd like the student, family members, and other representing the student to introduce themselves.
I'm Bianca Hart Brown, Ethan's mother.
I'm Ethan Akpodiate, student, and Marlon Brown, father.
Now, you have a layout of who's who. This was the first round of questioning, I guess you would call it. Okay? So we're going to listen now to them reading their own rules. So you know I'm not the one making this stuff up. Because you'll need to hear from the horse's mouth. Although the majority of these people on the screen are the horses behind.
Thank you. The purpose of today's meeting is to hear the eligibility appeal of Ethan, who is seeking eligibility at Eastmont High School. The WIAA rule being appealed is 18.12.0 and 18.12.5. WIAA Article 19.6 states that no member of the WIAA District Eligibility Committee shall hear and decide a case concerning a student who attends or attended a school with which that member is employed or otherwise directly associated. In such cases, that member shall be disqualified. What this means is if any member or members of this committee are associated with the sending school or the receiving school or have any personal connection or relationship to the student or family, those members will not be part of deliberation or voting process.
Good. Glad you heard them say it. I am glad you heard them say the person that made the decision cannot be part of the deliberation for the appeals process. You heard that? So please tell me, anyone out there who has half a brain cell to rub together with itself, how did Mr. Waterman get away with contacting the top person in the WIAA to confer with him about a decision he made when that decision should be his solely, so that in the event that people need to appeal, it will be unbiased because there are not multiple people at different layers of our appeals process being already contaminated by his decision? Please tell me how. I told you I'm not the smartest human being out there. This would be like if a judge is hearing a case and he's already spoken with the prosecutor about all of the information and he has to make an appeal. The person that is being accused needs to make an appeal. He can't now make an appeal based on anything because you know what? Every bit of the information has already been conferred with the judge by the prosecution. It's a closed case. They've already made up their minds. You can present what you want, but I've already talked to the prosecution. We are in agreement that what they came up with is the fact of the matter, so your words don't matter.
Will the members who meet the conditions of Article 19.6.0 please state your name at this time? Not hearing any. The eligibility committee members that will be involved in deliberations and voting are Evan Reister from Chelan High School, Bob Stanley from Davis High School, and Cody Miller from Royal High School. By WIAA rule, Ethan is currently ineligible. In order for the district eligibility committee to waive Ethan's loss of eligibility, it must be based on the finding of what's termed a hardship.
There you go. Okay. Let's get to the appeals process here. Now, once you are denied eligibility, the appeals process has to go in on really what they really hinge it on is hardship. You have to prove hardship in order to be taken off ineligibility. The student must meet all other eligibility requirements of Article 18 of this handbook. The student must establish a hardship as defined under the provisions of Article 19.10 and as determined by the District Eligibility Committee. A student listen to this, a student transferring from a school of choice may gain eligibility only at their resident public school if granted a hardship. There can be no evidence that either the student transferred for the purpose of participating in interscholastic athletics or transferred as a result of having been recruited for the purpose of participating in interscholastic athletics, which he was not. He did not transfer for sports. He transferred for academics, not interscholastic. In addition to the above requirements, the district eligibility chairperson shall, as an added condition to eligibility, require that the transferring student submit a WIAA previous school statement, which is the one that he made his choice off of. A copy of the signed form must be retained on file for the school office for the duration of the student's attendance at that school. So now he has to prove hardship on a rule that doesn't apply to him. That there is no hardship for him to request because it's not a hardship. But they do it like that for set occasions like this. If any hardship I would count, it would be the abuse of the parents at the behest of Mr. Waterman or whoever his crony was in the Wenatchee School District. That would be our hardship. In fact, we went on to say that during the appeal, that there were multiple parents badgering my son to stay in the Wenatchee District. And if I could get a hold of the fathers of those people who felt the need to speak to my son a certain way about his future, I would deck you right in your stupid face. You don't get to talk to my son about his future. That's my job. And I'd hit you if he was a woman too. Doesn't matter. I am what you call all-inclusive. Anything men can do, women can do. I'm all for that right now. You don't get to talk to my son about his future. I don't go talking to your nappy-headed kid about his or hers. You don't get to talk to mine about his.
A hardship is defined as a circumstance outside the control of the student and or family, and that circumstance caused the student to be out of compliance with the WIA rule and therefore ineligible.
And how exactly do you perform a hardship? Listen to this, because I know exactly why they picked that rule. They knew under that rule there would be no hardship presented that could ever override their decision. There would be no hardship that you could bring that could change his transition from mid-junior to high school. There's nothing you can say. There isn't anything. There's no hardship that you can bring. They know that. That's why they picked that law. Now, here's the crazier part. Once Mr. Waterman knew who I was dealing with, which was JP, all of a sudden now he calls JP after I leave the office, demanding that JP listen to this carefully, please listen to this carefully. Demanding that JP give him all the information he has on Ethan, including the dates that he played for JP. If you said you made your decision based on knowledge that he was not in compliance because he played at a certain grade level, why then would you need JP's information when you should already have it to make your decision? The fact is, he didn't have that information. He didn't have that information. He made that decision based on his cronyism with the rest of the fools in the Wenatchee district. But here he is trying to run cover now by calling JP and threatening the man, threatening him with his job being lost and taken away if he did not give him this information. He threatened to fire JP, get him removed if he did not give up this information. Information that clown said he had in order to make the decision he made about my son. JP refused, and JP got his own lawyer. His lawyer said, do not hand the information over. So once he couldn't get that information, then he called more of his people in the WIAA to figure out what their next steps were going to be. We decided to go see the superintendent of the East Wenatchee School District. And we presented the superintendent with this law, this rule. He says, well, from the looks of the rule, there's no way he could be classified as a high school student, not even by the WIAA standard. So he decided to go bat for us for the second appeal. Him and the principal of the East Wenatchee School decided to go to bat. Even with their information that he was not entering into or currently was a high school student, it didn't matter. Why didn't it matter? Here's why it didn't matter. Because the decision was already made between Russ Waterman and the head guy of the WIAA. There was no appeal for us to have. The appeal was simply just a walkthrough. The appeal was simply a way for them to say, hey, we gave you a chance to appeal and it didn't work out. I'm sorry. Guess it didn't work out. I mean, he doesn't have a hardship. I could say the hardship is this, that Russ Waterman had a personal vendetta against my son, which would constitute abuse. He also made arrangements with people on the other side where my son was currently playing at that time to make sure he remained in that district, which would be, I guess you would call it insider trading. That would be my hardship. I'd call it bullying and harassment is what I would call it. That would be my hardship. But then again, you're dealing with people who made their own minds up long before my son had a chance to even remotely say anything on his behalf, or the parents for that matter, to say anything.
In other words, the action taken by the student and or family unit in response to the circumstance was not a matter of choice. Hardship circumstances must be totally different from those that exist from the majority or even small minority of the students. It's important to note that perceived academic or athletic deficiencies in a school curriculum or co-curricular activities do not constitute a hardship. Ethan, please state what sport or sports you're seeking eligibility at the varsity level for the 24-25 school year?
Fall football 24-25.
So football,
Let me answer this question. So, have you and your son still decided to transfer for academic reason, and he's going to stay out of sports for the year from his old school? He transferred academically, and that went through no problem. Because, like I said, according to even WIAA rules, he is allowed that one transfer. They're allowed, no penalty. So he was transferred. Now, with their designating him not able to play for varsity, he can play for junior varsity. So they knocked him down one rung to junior varsity instead of varsity, which is where he qualified for. His skill level in middle school is that of a comparable level to high school students. This is how good Ethan is. So he's still playing currently, but for junior varsity. He's still in East Wenatchee in school. So he's not. Either way, we kept him academically, which was the original purpose, in East Wenatchee. So that side is fine. The stupidity of this is the reasons for him not playing varsity.
oh, any other sports, Ethan?
I play up 2 other sports, but not for varsity.
Oh, okay. Okay, so just football. So Ethan, what the committee needs from you today is a clear and detailed picture of excuse me, of why you feel we should rule in favor of your appeal and waive your ineligibility. Your primary task is to help us understand what hardship exists or existed that is or was outside of your control. Please understand that the information you share today will remain confidential and not be openly discussed outside of this hearing. However,
Right there. It is not supposed to be openly discussed outside of the hearing. You know, between whom? Between them. And who do you think they can't talk to the discussions about? Who can they not talk to? The one who made the decision, right? So here you have the appeals of people, the appeals, telling you directly in a recorded session that they will not talk to the person that did the decision, while the person who made the decision goes to talk to the ones above them about his decision. You see why I'm livid here? You see why I am absolutely beyond measure livid here. They speak out of both sides of their behind because everything coming out their mouth is absolute poop. It's dung. You have no credibility. If you won't discuss the details of the case, but then tell me I am going to need to appeal, and the person that I'm appealing to has already spoken to the person that ain't supposed to be spoken to, I am fighting a losing battle. There is no way I'm going to ever get my appeals process through. No way.
any accusations or allegations of wrongdoing made toward an individual, a program, or a school will need to be verified, and the committee will go to the source and address any issues you may raise. Ethan, do you understand what is meant by the term hardship?
Yes, I understand.
And do you understand that the committee will need to verify any accusations or allegations of wrongdoing made toward an individual, a program, or a school by going to the source?
I understand.
Okay. So Ethan, this is your chance for you and your family to explain your hardship, and the committee will be listening, we'll be taking notes. So if our eyes aren't directly ahead, please understand we are still listening, we're just taking notes. And we may have questions after you get done. So Ethan, the floor is yours.
Before Ethan speaks, I'd like to just touch on the fact that we were made to understand that it's not so much a hardship that we're challenging, and it's really the misapplication, we believe, of the rule that made Ethan become ineligible. So Ethan, I mean, doesn't have any hardships. He has met all the requirements to participate in football. This all came about from someone complaining to the athletic director over at Eastmont about Ethan participating in sport at the club level. So that's what we're challenging, because your rule states that a high school student who attends or participates, and you guys know the rule, you sit on the board, we're challenging the fact that Ethan was not in high school when he participated in the club football. He was in 7th grade going into 8th grade. He started the summer of 2023 and ended on October 21st, 2023. One of the issues Mr. Waterman raised was the fact that the coach that coached that team was affiliated at the time with Eastmont School District. He's now an employee there as of, I think, February or January of this year. We are asking that this rule really be examined, because as written, despite intent or interpretation, as your rule is written, it cannot apply to Ethan. He was a middle school student in 7th grade. So anything after that, those first 4 words can't be, there's no way it could apply to Ethan. The second thing we're challenging is, what's the purpose of, or asking, what's the purpose of the window of transfer protection for the student? Because we're taking advantage of that one-time move for Ethan to move from Eastmont School, from Wenatchee School District to Eastmont School District between 8th and 9th grade. So what does that cover, or how does that protect his move? Right? Those are the two main rules that are affecting Ethan's eligibility. How it came about is a horse of a different color. But I just want to know, like, what is your procedure? Because to me, after my first conversation with Mr. Waterman on the 26th, it came across as though someone in Wenatchee complained to him, and that's why we were in this situation. Now, he said he sent Ethan an email on the 23rd, that he did. Said he blind copied my husband and CC'd me in the email, but we never got any emails from him. So we weren't notified as his parents, but Ethan was notified as a minor of this major decision that affects his ability to play football.
Now, I was quiet the entire time because I also knew for myself, if I spoke up, at least a lot, I did speak a little bit, but if I had spoken up, I knew what would eventually pop out. Didn't want to ruin the appeals process and then have them say, oh, because your husband behaved a certain way, we have to stand by it and blah, 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 blah. So I left myself the room to not say anything, let them do what they got to do. I spoke up to mention the fact that Mr. Waterman, I did have a conversation with him, and he did mention having a conversation with a person in the upper ups about it, and it wasn't one of them on the board that you were watching now. I stayed completely out of the second one because I knew exactly how it would end. I told Bianca how it was going to end. I told her that they were not going to give the process any sort of fair play. They were going to stick with their ruling, and it would just end as it always does before, because they already made the decision with the one that made the choice, and the one that made the choice called the people we would eventually appeal to, and that appeal process was pretty much dead in the water, dead on arrival. It would have never gone anywhere regardless. because Russ went to the head guy to explain why he made the decision he made, to verify that his application of the law was in his favor for making the decision he made. If they had kept him out for the whole year, if he didn't play any football, junior varsity or varsity, he'd be eligible to play next year. He would have to sit the whole year. Or he could drop down to junior varsity and play there, which is what he did. But he was eligible on every front, on every account, to play at the varsity level. And it was all of a result of people in the system of that WIAA talking to each other before we had a time to flesh out our appeals process or even appeal to the rule application itself. They didn't give us any way to do that because Russ Waterman went above and beyond his department history and decided to go way up and say, no, I'm going to talk to the head people about it, thereby bypassing any and all hopes of us bringing something fresh to these people for them to look at. There was no rule. No room for it at all.
And I just need to understand what are your procedures, and in examining that and how this whole thing came about, how is this possibly a hardship on us to prove? We didn't create this situation.
Thank you.
So that is that's the hardship we're having. We're in this process because someone complained Mr. Waterman took steps. And I believe he didn't have all the information before he made his decision.
Now, she said that before we found out that he contacted JP about the information. He did make his decision without all the info. He made that choice without pertinent timelines, without pertinent info, without any true information. He made his decision because somebody that he liked more than the rules told him to. That's why he made that decision. He was operating out of cronyism.
So I don't know how interactive this is supposed to be. But I need to understand from you guys, what exactly is it you need from us? Because we're really not challenging, we don't have a hardship. We're just challenging the misapplication of the rule.
Listen to this.
That is a very good question.
What?
I don't.
I'll add that as sitting on a member of these eligibility committees for a number of years, this would be a good question when someone's questioning a misapplication of a rule. Because our task is to determine whether or not the hardship would supersede the rule. So that's a good question. And that was Bob Stanley from Davis.
Okay, Mr. Davis. From what you heard.
Davis High School he's from Davis High School. His name's
What?
He was just telling you where he's from.
Okay, Mr. Stanley. Sorry, Ethan's corrected me.
No, that's okay.
Mr.
That's okay.
Davis. Sorry. I'm sorry. I'm like, why is he telling me that? Ethan, I embarrass you all the time. It's okay, you live.
Mom, what's the sport? Is it football or basketball?
Now, did you catch that? At the very onset of this meeting, they asked Ethan, what was he seeking eligibility for? All four of these fools were supposed to be listening. Every last one of them on the screen were supposed to be listening to Ethan's answer. This moronic clown has the nerve to get on screen and open his hole in his face. What sport are you seeking eligibility for? Jack Monkey, weren't you not listening? Do you have two holes in the side of your head for no reason? Do you execute the hole in your middle of your face more than you do on the sides of your head? Because he made it pretty damn clear at the very beginning what sport he was playing. The entire premise of the refusal to put him in varsity was based on football. How do you not get this? How retarded do you have to be to not get this? How stupid are you? Unless, of course, you think maybe because he's black and stupid. I could see that. I could see you believing that. You look like the kind of person that would believe that. Or because we're not worth listening to, you shut your ears down. What I really think was the decision was already made. So you're not listening to anything we have to say. You don't care what we have to say. You don't care. You've already made your choice. You've talked to that overweight buffoon in East Wenatchee already. You've talked to that diabetic piece of shit. You talked to him already. Why would you need to listen to us? It didn't matter. You never listened to a word we said until we challenge your authority on your own rule. What sport are you seeking eligibility for? Pickleball. I'm trying to play pool for high school. That's what I'm applying for. Pool. Tetherball.
Football, but he plays basketball. He's played both sports at Foothills. He's played both basketball and football over at Foothills Middle School in the Wenatchee School District. But really, football is his passion. He loves football. I don't want to say it's his passion. He loves football. He's really good at it.
Is the football the sport in question for the coaching?
Yes.
Or is it basketball?
Football.
Football. Okay.
Yeah.
So who? I'm reading through your packet right now, looking through it, and I want to say, was it Hawks football?
Yes, it was.
Okay. So Hawks football. Can you tell us who the coach was the coach in question?
JP Beauchamp and I think Mike Simpson.
Mike Wilson.
Mike Wilson,
And
sorry.
there's Colin now.
Okay, so speak up, Ethan.
There's a fourth one I don't remember. There was Mike Wilson, Colin Nell,
And JP Beauchamp.
JP Beauchamp.
Okay.
Young man, was that Grid Kids Club football then? Grid Kids? Or is it a different level?
What does that mean?
Jeff, you know it wasn't necessarily middle school football, but it was a club
It was
program?
club, yes. Yes, it was club. It was a club program. It had nothing to do with any school.
And this was played. Can you give me the dates again?
Now he needs the dates again. After he said, I'm just going to be writing stuff down. She spoke. You were supposed to be writing stuff down because you said you were listening. And you missed that somehow? Secondarily, aren't you supposed to have that information? Isn't that what Russ Waterman made his decision on? Aren't you supposed to have the information sitting right there in front of you, you four-eyed fool? Aren't you? You geriatric, arthritic piece of crap. Aren't you supposed to have that in front of you? You spent your whole time looking down. You said you were writing stuff down. You couldn't get the dates. You and your next jackass up top couldn't even remember what sport it was. Right? And we're supposed to trust you and your brain to remember the things we say when you said you're listening, but you're not listening. And it's a good question. Well, that's a really good question. I wonder, man, it's a good question. We've never had that option before. We never had anybody tell us they didn't like our rules. It took everything in me. It took everything in me. Only reason I did not go off, there had to be an angel muzzle in my mouth. There had to be. They had to be 5 pounds of duct tape, heavenly duct tape, for that to work. You sit there with your old wrinkly self telling me I'm going to be writing down things so I know I have it, and you missed the two important things. Your fool up top missed the sport, and you missed the dates he played. But that's the whole premise of the problem. You missed the entire premise. First, you don't know if it's club football when you're a club, and we're talking about eligibility based on WIAA. You see the problem here? This was an entire situation where all they were doing was sitting over us using their power. That's all they were doing. That's all they were doing. They had no intention ever of actually doing anything to assist in this appeals process, because the appeals process was null and void. The instant that Russ Waterman, athletics director at East Wenatchee High School, made his choice and called those people in the higher ups to solidify his choice.
Bianca, you said it was
He started in the summer of 2023 and ended in October 21st, 2023.
Okay.
And here's the other element to that, okay? If it is in your rule, it states that for 1 year, he's not allowed to play varsity football. And we're wanting to backdate this rule all the way to when he was in 7th grade. Then he has already he's almost fulfilled that year of not playing varsity, right? But then varsity doesn't matter to an 8th grader or a 7th grader. Do you understand? So in order for this rule to be applicable to Ethan, he had to begin at being a high school student. He was not. Now, if we still want to go ahead and have this rule stand, then every 8th grader should be warned not to play any club sport leading into high school for risk of running into a high school coach that they may have to encounter that they played at club level. Now, everyone, I'm getting I have to get a little personal here in order for you guys to have a bigger picture of this thing. Wenatchee is very small, okay? So we don't have a vast amount of clubs that we could pick and choose from. So sometimes coaches from schools do participate in club football. But in this case, in JP's involvement as Ethan's coach in the Hawks, that's all he was, his coach in the Hawks. I had no intention ever of having Ethan be at Wenatchee High School because of how horribly unprofessional they are, because of how unfairly they treated my 2 older sons. I was not willing to put Ethan's future, and I'm not talking about his football future, I'm talking about his academic future, on the line in their hands, because the school district proved to me that they're not professional, they're not fair, and there is really no recourse parents have to address stuff, because everybody hides behind the shield of the rules of the school. Everybody runs behind the shield after they start stuff. I really hate being in this process simply because there's been really no way for us to find a fair resolution to the situations we've had over at Wenatchee. And I just did not want to deal with them with Ethan. On no level did we want to deal with them.
Hence the choicing.
That's why we choiced him. Our youngest son is also at the Eastmont School District. This is be outside of football. They have nothing to offer that would help Ethan stay on the path he's on academically, which really is the motivating factor for us making the decision to choice him into Eastmont. That's the personal side of the thing. Okay, so I don't know what else would help you guys make this decision or come to a conclusion. Or
What I was told when I met with Mr. Waterman was that by the spirit of the law, they were trying to make sure that you weren't going into your high school year having done playing club football. So he was saying 8th grade.
Can you move closer to the computer so that we can pick up your audio, please?
Sorry, can you hear me better now?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
I would ask Ashley too, if you could start over too. I
Yeah,
didn't
yeah,
hear
I
that
will.
first part.
I will. When I
Thank
met
you.
with Mr. Waterman, he had told me that they count high school as 8th grade going into 9th. And if that was the case, and that's as far back as it goes, it still doesn't cover the fact that Ethan was going into 8th, so he couldn't have counted as the 8th going into 9th criteria of a high school student, even though on paper for the school he's listed as middle school. For the WIAA, he said that you got as a high school student. But if he's applying, and that's what he told me his understanding for his reason he was ruling, in any sense, seeing that Ethan was going from 7th to 8th. So our confusion really lies in what is he counting as though Ethan 24 or 23, and if he counted as 24, where was he getting that information from? Because that was never ever the case. So if he made his ruling based on false information or lack of information, I don't see how he can make a proper ruling on something without that info.
So we're trying to talk here. So summer 2023, that's after your 7th grade year.
No.
And so the start of your 8th grade year, from that summer prior to October 21st, 2023, when you're an 8th grader, that's when you played for this Hawks team.
No.
yes.
Okay.
No. And we missed it, but did you not catch what he just tried to do there? Did you hear the 2 years that he conflated? He just classified 23 as 24. Ethan played all through 23. He didn't have any playtime with WIAA at all in 24. He never played for the WIAA in 24. It was all 23. We missed that one at the time because, one, I was already way too livid to think properly. B missed it because he knew how to manipulate words. We both got fooled on this.
Okay, so I'm gonna try and summarize. And I forgot all the. I do have.
Wait, one more question. Sorry.
Question.
So your coach on the Hawks team is now coaching it on the Eastmont High School team.
Yes, he's now
Correct.
employed. He's now employed there. He wasn't employed there when Ethan played. He was a volunteer coach in the Eastmont program.
When he was coaching, volunteer coaching for the Hawks, was he still coaching for Eastmont?
No.
No, he was a volunteer in both places. He was
So
in
he
Eastmont School
was a
District.
volunteer coach for both programs.
Yeah.
Okay, volunteer, and a volunteer with the Hawks.
Yeah,
That's correct? That's what I'm
Yes.
hearing you say?
that's what we understand, yes.
Okay.
Can I ask one more clarifying question? What
Sure.
is his role? Is he's still volunteer at Eastmont, or is he an employed coach? And what is his role as an employed coach? If
Okay,
that's
so
the case?
he's employed right now in Eastmont School District. I don't know JP's business. I don't know if it was January or February of this year that he became employed with them. And it is in their football program. I think he coaches
Varsity D-line.
the
All
varsity.
D-line, actually. Yeah, all D-line.
He's a D-line coach for all the teams.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
And which coach was this again?
JP Buchan.
That was JP, okay.
I have mental problems and I can figure this out. This is their job and they can't figure it out.
Okay, questions from the committee? Okay, so as you stated, this is a hardship. This is you're appealing of the rule. Seventh, and I'm just gonna go through what I've got here. He was after his 7th grade year, 8th grade, Ethan played on the Hawks football team, which was coached by Coach JP, who was a volunteer at both Eastmont and a volunteer with the Hawks. Ethan was a middle school student at the time, which, according to the rule, say a high school student, so middle school student wouldn't apply to them.
They're reading it. They're reading their own rules. This is how I knew that they were not going to give us the appeals in our favor. Listen to me. You saw his body language, right? He's reading the rules. As he's reading the rules, he's reading the information about what Ethan was. And the reason he cannot spit it out is because he's realizing in real time that crap, Russ Waterman really tried to hose us, man, because now he's put us in a bind. The rule doesn't apply to Ethan, but he's already spoken to their boss. Russ already spoke to their boss. There was nothing they could do. Their hands were tied. He's recognizing that now. He's reading it and realizing he wasn't even remotely under this rule. Too late, though. Your boy Russ already gave what he had to give to the head guy. They already made the decision. There is nothing to appeal, which is why they put it under this rule so that no hardship can ever be brought forth, because there was no hardship. They knew there were no hardships. In our paperwork that we sent over to the school district, blatantly said there was no hardship. There was nothing to be appealed. Now, after all of this fiasco, I found out something else about the Wenatchee School District. Lo and behold, it also has happening at the East Wenatchee School District, in the athletic departments in both locations. Now, when I tell you this part, this is where you're going to get mad for me, which is why I will say what I will say about Mr. Waterman. There is another parent, multiple parents actually, who have brought issue to the Wenatchee School athletics department that they've been allowing boys into the ladies' locker room to change and harass. It's been allowed in the Wenatchee District Athletics Department. It's been allowed in the East Wenatchee Athletics Department. There is a little girl that came forward. I was supposed to talk to her father, but he's been very busy. Who filed a complaint? She's been ignored. She has been ignored. She's been ignored. Over in Wenatchee, the principal is the athletics director, Eric Anderson. Just so you all know, names. Because I'm naming names. I'm not playing this game where people ain't going to say who is who. I'm naming names. This person is the athletics director in Wenatchee. Russ Waterman is the athletics director in East Wenatchee. There are complaints coming to your department that this kind of activity has been happening and you do nothing. What am I supposed to assume about you? Here's my question, Mr. Anderson. What am I supposed to assume about you? Here's my question, Mr. Waterman. What am I supposed to assume about you? Both of you. Now, I could make a lot of assumptions of men who don't listen to young girls saying that there are boys allowed into their locker room showing off their genitalia. I could make a lot of assumptions about you. And I probably would not be wrong. I would probably not be wrong if they were to check your hard drive and find child pornography on there. I wouldn't be surprised. Is it true? Don't know. But I can guess based on what you have not done. I can guess based on what has not been brought to the attention of the public. I can guess that. I can guess based on how you treat the parents of the people coming forward to complain about it. I can do that. I can make an assumption about you just based on your inability to do something. I can sure make an assumption about that. Between you and this clown, I can make an assumptions. And in my assumption, I probably won't be far off. Because what you do in your own, you usually approve of. What you do on your own time, you probably will approve of. Your inaction tells me more than anything else. This entire situation has proven one thing to me. And this is what it's proven. That ultimate power corrupts ultimately. And they have ultimate power over these children. Do you remember all these laws that they've passed recently where you are no longer able to find out about your children without them saying so? Where they can tell your kid not to say something? You remember all those laws that started getting passed during that homosexual term in office, Barack? Did you remember that? All those laws that were trying to pass back then, the same laws they passed while Joe Biden, the other pedophile, has been in office. All these school laws that got passed where you couldn't tell the parent, you're not supposed to tell the parent, you and the student make the decision. Remember all those stupid laws? This is exactly where it gets us. This is where it gets us. You get woke individuals who do not care, who have their own perversions in their back pocket. They have their own money coming in, their own benefits, their own perks. At the dismay of other students. Forget them. It doesn't matter. I'm getting what I'm getting. The mere fact that he can lie that he sent emails when we have tangible proof he never sent the emails, when I can show you. Now, there is a way for people to be able to make it look like they sent an email. You can Google that. Google gives you instructions how to do that. You can actually Google instructions how to make it look like you sent an email and pick the date and everything else and make it look like you did retroactively when you never did, which is what I believe Russ Waterman did. He never sent us an email. He had no intentions of sending us an email. He was already in cahoots with whoever he spoke to about making sure that Ethan was not eligible for varsity long before. He already made his decision, which is why he can get the paperwork, already make the choice, and send it out the same day. That morning, the 26th, is when he said he got it. He said he already made the decision. Same time he got it, he made the decision right away. You could make it that quick. Nah, you made it before. You waited till you got the paperwork so then you can apply the decision you already made before you even saw the paperwork. And because of these arbitrary laws that these clowns have put in place to have students be in charge of their own future, gender laws, and then you put the teachers in a better position to have say over the child's life than the parents, this is what you get. This is what you get. You get individuals who put their own needs and their own wants above that of the future of the child. Now, hear me out. Here's why I'm livid about this. Ethan gets to play varsity at a high school level. He's in middle school. He's at least a few years behind the people he's playing with, but he's playing on their level. A scout shows up to a high school game because that's where they start recruiting, is in high school. College scouts start looking at the high school level. Some may even look at the middle school level. But the majority of them look at the high school level to see who the next prospects are across the nation. You worthless human being, have cost my son eyeballs. That's what you did. I'm grateful that my son is more intelligent than you and that he will probably end up with a better job than you. And he'll end up with better morals than you. I'm glad that that has at least what I can look at and say my son is a smart child. He'll make it. He'll be fine. It doesn't negate the robbing of a actual avenue for him to get to the next level. You've robbed him of that. No amount of time at the junior varsity is going to give him the exposure he would have had at the varsity level. And you knew that. You wanted to make room for somebody else. You wanted to make room for some one of your other people to have them make it onto the varsity team and not Ethan. Because you didn't want the people that were behind you to get smoked by him. Because here's the thing, you know that if you're playing varsity and Ethan shows up on the field and he influences the rest of the team to whoop your people's behind, their kids ain't gonna get seen because they're not good enough. But without him there, they get a chance to shine. And you have the power to do that. You have the power at the stroke of your pen to destroy my child's ability to be seen by colleges and have a free ride. That's what they really did. Like I said, I'm not concerned about my son's academics. He's a smart kid, very smart kid. Ridiculous. He's in advanced algebra and math. He's fine academically. If he never makes it to football, trust and believe he's going to end up being a lawyer or something big like that. He's got the brains for it. Still doesn't negate the fact that the kid wants to play in the NFL. Doesn't negate that fact. And it doesn't negate the fact that he has the skills to do it. But it does mess with the fact that people who are recruiting at the college level for him to be seen by NFL teams have missed that chance to see him. That's what that means. There are too expensive, and they don't have the teams. They don't have the teams. Same issue would apply, though, because you still have to be playing for the group that we wanted to play for. The only private school that we would ever trust is in Wenatchee, not East Wenatchee. Now, in Ethan's defense, he took it like a champ. He was livid. Let me not make light of it. He was very mad, very hurt, very upset. But after the first few games, he talked to his coach and stuff, and they were, they work well with him. And now he's tearing it up at the junior varsity level. The problem is, and this is how great it backfired exponentially on them. They wanted to keep him, right? And they were hoping, I think what they were half thinking is that if he was denied eligibility on the football program, they thought he was choosing because of sports. You see, they thought he was choosing over there because of sports. And if they had denied that, he would have to go back and revert to Wenatchee. But it didn't matter because we were choosing him on academics. The perk was football. So now he plays in East Wenatchee on the junior varsity and making the junior varsity team in Wenatchee look like absolute scrubs, because that's what they are. They're scrubs. Coaching, scrubs. All of it, scrubs. Compared to the Eastman, scrubs. So they just shot themselves in the foot just on a different level. Instead of varsity, now you're going to get creamed on the junior varsity level. Now you're going to get hosed on the junior varsity. Now you're going to get swept on the junior varsity level. And he played them. And he did exactly that. 4 touchdowns on them. We were laughing at them. See what you tried to do? End up biting you in the butt. And next year, he's going to be on varsity, and you're going to get smoked again. He's going to be that much better. Then he's going to smoke. Now he's going to smoke you twice. Then he's going to smoke you a third and a fourth time before he ends up leaving high school. He's going to kill y'all. He's going to run over every last one of your kids. None of your kids going to have no spotlights except for being posterized. That's what you're going to get. You're going to have pictures of your son getting trucked. You're going to get pictures of your son getting stiff-armed to the floor. You're going to get pictures of your son eating dirt behind my son is what you're going to get for your stupidity. And I'm going to be there at the game, pointing fingers, laughing at you. Watching the rest of y'all just suffer because you did something so stupid and nefarious and it backfired. But that's on the personal level. On the professional level, I am not remotely done with Russ Waterman, nor the WIAA. Because what they did to mine, they can do to others. And they probably already have. So if you're watching this, anybody in Washington State watching this, and you have had a son be put in a position like this because of the WIAA, please let me know. Please let me know. No, he's a running back, not a wide receiver. Running back, safety. I'm going to just sit back, and on the personal front, I'm going to just watch him tear y'all dog cat raggedy, just destroy y'all. all your sinister behavior from the parents that wanted to stand one at you. I'm just going to sit back and eat my ice cream and watch y'all get toe up. Watch your kids get nothing. Watch your kids get schooled. Can't wait. Watching him drag 4 and 5 guys on his back because he's bigger than them. And he's just going to get bigger. He ain't getting smaller. The man's 6 foot at 14. He going to be 6'6" by the time he get out of high school. He going to be 6'6" and somewhere in the region of 250 to 260 pounds. A raw, unadulterated man. He going to mess y'all up. He going to mess y'all up. So that's what you get for trying to intervene. Y'all parents, that's what you get for trying to intervene. As for you, Mr. Waterman, I told you, I didn't warn you, I promised you. I promised you there would be repercussions. I promised you, and I'm not done yet. When I'm done, I'm going to make sure you can't get a job nowhere, not as a janitor, nothing. You're going to have nothing to your name. I'm going to end you. I am ending your whole career as athletics, anything, anywhere in Washington State. Because you're a conniving clown. You're vile. You have no moral character whatsoever. You're scum. And I have no doubt that you're racist as well. No doubt in my mind, you're a flaming, stinking racist too. No doubt in my mind. That coupled with the fact that you ain't saying nothing about the kinds of crap happening in locker rooms at your school, that gonna get investigated too. That's gonna get investigated too. Oh, trust me, a news article, somewhere news gonna pick this up. And when they do, and they do the investigation, watch what happens to you. Watch. You're going to get known as the athletic director that allowed all this nonsense in the locker rooms. Especially if some girl comes forward later and says that she was touched because boys were allowed in there and you did nothing. Oh, you in some hot water, buddy. You in some hot water. Real hot water. You think I'm playing with you? You think I'm playing with you? Keep thinking I'm playing with you. I'm not playing your game. You playing mine now. You had your chance. You did your thing. You sent your appeal process, and albeit a nonsensical one. You in my world now. Now you in my playhouse. You want to see how I really play games? Let's play some games. Let's play some games, Russ. Let's play some games. Answer me this, Russ. Why you ain't doing nothing about all the things that got brought forward? Why? You approve of them? Huh? You like hearing the stories of little girls being assaulted by boys? You like hearing those stories? Huh? They do something for you? You want more of them so you can have them logged in some book or something? Maybe you have access to the film. Again, all maybes, right? All maybes. I mean, I don't have all the information, but I can sure make my choice the same way you didn't have your information and you made your choice. I'm playing your game, see? I can play your game, but you're in my world now. I'm going to play your game. I'm going to make all my assumptions about you based on nothing. The same way you made your decision about my son based on nothing, I'm going to make it about you. I'm going to make it based on hearsay. I'm going to make it based on cronyism. I'm going to make it based on everything else but fact and see how you like it. See how you like it when somebody destroys your future. See how you like it. When somebody who has more power than you can take your name and just drag that crap through the mud, I want to see how you feel. When somebody could make your name public news across platforms, the interwebs, all over the state, the country, I want to see how you feel now. I want to see how you feel. I'm doing what you do. I'm learning from you. You made your stupid decision, right? Good. You talked to who you need to talk to, right? Perfect. You made a decision about my kid's future without me. Perfect. And without information. And you threaten people to get information, to coerce information out of them. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to follow in your footsteps, buddy. The difference is, here's the biggest difference. Your reach was only Washington State. Your reach is only Washington State. When I'm done with you, the entire United States is going to hear about you. They're going to know about you. You're going to be getting calls from everywhere across the globe. You're going to be getting calls asking you, what's the deal with this? Why is this happening? Why am I hearing this? You're going to be famous. You and all your buddies in the WIAA going to be famous by the time I'm done with you. You ain't going to want the kind of fame you're getting, but you're going to be famous. When I tell you I'm going scorched earth, I am going scorched earth. Y'all did this crap with my oldest son, Wenatchee, East Wenatchee. Y'all did crap to my 16-year-old. I didn't stand up then because they told me not to. My sons told me don't worry about it. This one, it ain't happening a third time. It is not happening a third time. Y'all woke this up, and it's not going back to sleep. You brought this upon yourself. Y'all opened the door for this, and I'm not closing the door until I make sure every last one of you fools are out. When I tell you I'm done, I'm done. And when I tell you you're going to be done, you're going to be done. After this goes where it's going to go, you're going to regret. You're going to absolutely regret messing with my kids. You're going to rue the day you mess with the day you woke up with your beady eyes open up saying, I'm going to cause some havoc today. You will regret waking up that morning. You're going to want and beg for a time machine and there'll be none coming for you. You're going to try to apply for a job at another school district and everybody going to be looking at you like, not here. Nope. No, not even a janitor job. No, nope. Find something else to do, buddy. That's my goal. I'm not playing this game with you no more. I'm not playing this game. In either case, I said what I had to say, shown what I had to show. The facts are on my side. And I'm not playing this game with nobody when it comes to my kids no more. I'm not. Nobody. But I know it was a providential thing that I did not intervene when they messed with Caleb, because I knew what I was back then. I can admit now that if this had happened 5 years ago, just 5, I'd have been in jail. I know that for a fact. I'd be in jail. I'd have beat the brakes off of y'all. I'd have walked up in your office, Russ. If this was 5 years ago and this happened 5 years ago, just 5 short years ago, I wouldn't be having a conversation with you in your office. I'd walk in your office and then just knock you the hell out. Straight across the desk and beat you to the floor. I would have stomped on you. Man, it would have been bad for you. You getting off easy. You're just going to lose your job. If this was 5 years ago, you'd have lost a whole lot more. You'd have lost vision. You'd have lost the ability to eat. You'd have lost the ability to, you'd have lost everything. You're getting off easy. I'm not that same dude. I ain't going to come run up on you and beat the crap out of you. I'm not going to do that. This is a slow cook. This is a slow cook. I'm going to put you on the simmer for 8 hours. This ain't no threat. Trust me, this is not a threat. I don't care how you try to frame this. It ain't no threat. This is a promise, Russ Waterman, a absolute promise. And for the rest of y'all on the WIAA, this is a promise coming from me, a parent. I will watch the entire WAA burn to the floor for this. I will watch the entire organization go up in flames because of this. Because I know for a fact if my son went through this, multiple other children went through this because of y'all cronyism and your inability to stand on the business of what your laws say and try to incorporate all other things and do this to people's future and think you can get away with it. This is why I'm doing it. Ain't no violence gonna happen now. That time's past. I'd much rather save my energy, save my freedom, because I ain't gonna beat you up. I'm not gonna go to jail. But this way, ooh, this way you ending. I'm ending you. This way I'll end your career. I'll end your livelihood. You see, you're trying to take food off of my kid's table, which is what you essentially did, right? You tried to take food off my kid's table, but he's resilient. He gonna make it still. You don't have that option. You got no athletics to fall back onto. You're too old. You can't go do nothing sports-wise, right? Yeah. And then you're gonna be tagged as a racist. Nobody gonna hire you then either. Then you get tagged for allowing certain behaviors in the locker room. You're definitely gonna get a job then. Oh, when I look, I'm glad this is how it went down. I am glad it went down this way. You know why? Because I can finally fully do everything I had in my mind to do. I'm gonna take this to a public level. Right now, it's on Rumble and YouTube and Facebook. But I'm gonna get this in front of some national news. And when I get it in front of the national news, I'm bringing all the paperwork with it too. And I'm bringing all the video. I'm bringing all the information, bringing all the details. I won't need a lawyer. I won't have to pay for one. They're going to come asking me to represent for free. I won't need a lawyer I won't need to go hunting for one. They're going to come to me. I am done with y'all. So done with y'all. The amount of children you guys have destroyed with your stupidity. The amount of futures you put in the hole because of your stupidity, because of the stuff that you guys do because you care about what you get. Oh, it's about to come crashing down. My advice to people who are friends with him, just don't get caught up in what I'm coming out with. Don't try and play hero and step in front, no bullet for these people. If you want to catch a stray, catch a stray. If you want to catch a stray, please feel free to do it. Just understand, I'm warning you. I'm warning you. Do not try to defend people on this one. There's no defending this. No defending this. When I am done, when this is over, 90% of this WIAA thing is going to be gone. The program might stay, but the people right now need to leave, and they will leave. If you, parents in Washington State, any of you have endured this kind of nonsense before, please, for all that it's worth, for whatever your kid went through, please send me some information. Please get a hold of me. Get a hold of me. I'm going to send you the email scrolling at the bottom here. You type it up. There's the email. thesavagepatriots@gmail.com. if you have had dealings with the WIAA and they have treated you unfairly and given you no recourse, and it is a blatant violation of their own rules, and they refuse to acknowledge it, hit me up. Hit me up. You mess with the wrong one. You're right, Joyce. They did mess with the wrong one, but they also messed with the right one. You caught the right one at the right time. You caught the right one at the right time for us, the absolute wrong time for you. My charge is to protect my children. That's my charge. Your charge was to protect, when I give them over to you for the day, their well-being. And to make sure that the things they want to accomplish, you accommodate. Not what you want, what they want. You didn't do that. You failed. Not only did you failed to the point where you harmed my child and his future. The two things you're not supposed to harm. So now I got to do what I got to do. I have to do it. You should be very thankful I'm doing it this way and not the alternative. Be very grateful. Be very grateful that most men don't act on what they know. Men, I said, not boys. Be grateful that most men don't act on what they have encountered in people. Because if we did, look, it might only take about 15 people. It might only take about 15 of them for you to do that too and realize the outcome to never do it again. But then, as a father, you know that you left your kid in lurch because now you're in jail. The lesson's taught, but at what cost? Not this time. You ain't gonna pull me out of my new nature now. You ain't gonna do that. But you will be getting a new nature. And this new nature don't play. This new nature will see what you did and will raise you something else. And it's going to be the kind of chip toss that you can't match. It'll be too rich for your blood. You're going to want to back out. But it doesn't stop the game from ending. Not at all. Not at all. You know that song Kenny Rogers sang? You got to know when to hold him, know when to fold him, know when to walk away, and know when to run. This is your cue to walk away and to run. Run. If any of you know people in Washington State, send them this live, please. If you know people that have high school, middle school kids that deal with the WIAA, send them this. And for fathers out there, as much as you want to give your children the autonomy to make decisions to better themselves, sometimes you got to step in. I didn't step in with my eldest. He said, Dad, I just want to try and work this out myself. I said, you sure? He said, yeah. It got worse. I said, you sure? He said, yeah. By the time the third time showed up, it was too late. Whatever damage they had done to him was done. And I should have stepped in, regardless of what he said. I didn't. Now, that's not happening. Yes, there is a website. I'm dropping it here in the chat. And I'll bring it up on the screen so you can see it. This is their website. Okay. The about, the sports, scheduling, all of that. All of it's here. Okay. MyWIAA.com. MyWIAA.com. Fathers, step in. Here's what you get. And I don't mean step in and be violent, but step in and let them know that if you mess with my child in an inappropriate manner, there's somebody standing behind him. And just tell them straight up, don't step over that line. I don't want you to step over that line the same way you don't want to step over that line. Stepping over that line will end up very bad for both of us. Do not step over that line. And that could mean lawsuits, and exposure. Please do not step over that line when it comes to my children. We don't want to go there. Stick to what you're supposed to do. Stop trying to be extra, because the instant you get extra, I'm going to have to get extra, and I'm banking money on the fact that my extra going to be worse than yours. Mine is. My extra ain't got no chill. My extra is one of the most outlandish extras out there. You don't want my extra. But Russ, you got it. You get my extra. I hope I'm clear enough with you. You get my extra. Accuse me of what you want from this point on, but I'm saying it right now to your face if you ever see this video. You mess with my son, I'm going to mess with you. You hurt my son's future, I'm going to hurt yours. You put a roadblock in my child's future, I'm going to put one in yours. You brought this on yourself. I tried to stop you. You wouldn't listen. I told you there'd be repercussions. You thought I was joking. You thought maybe I was going to be violent with you. I told you right off the fact I'm not going to be violent with you. I said I have other ways. I specifically told you that. Here it is. This is my other way. If y'all care about your boy Russ, come get your man. Come get him. Come get him. And again, to whoever watches, this ain't no threat. If I issued threats, trust me, I'd be happy to say this is a threat. I don't threaten people. I promise people stuff. I'm a promise keeper. I'm a promise keeper. I promised you there'd be repercussions. Stupid Russ, meet repercussions. We're here now. We're here now. I don't know. I'm not muting on this side, so I don't know why it's going in and out on your end. In either case, Too Strong will be on tonight at 9 o'clock Eastern. 9 o'clock Eastern. Okay? 9. In any case, that's that. I said my piece, showed my info, made my case. The next step for me will be to get in front of the news, and then from the time I'm in front of the news, to have the exposure fully done on both school districts for what they may or may not allow in the locker rooms of boys and young girls, And then to finally get the WIAA put out a commission for all of this cronyism and this nonsensical things that they do to people who are just trying to have their children use an article such as sports to make a future for themselves. It's a vehicle, and you're trying to cut my kids' tires. I'm gonna take yours off of the wheel well, and so you're gonna ride on rims. I'm gonna take it off. You might slash tires, but I'm taking yours completely off. You're gonna be a stuck car on the freeway. Cool, cool, cool. I'm glad we're on the same page now, because it's just getting started. It's just getting started. I'm gonna catch you guys later today. Peace.